I think you can guess what I'm gonna say. More Mandalorian! This week we're making these awesome bounty pucks. Let's go! How's it going? Anthony Farrow here, Create Sci-Fi. Well, more Mandalorian. But definitely now I'm on a mission. I'm gonna do a Mandalorian fan film. I have some really cool stuff lined up. I'm gonna talk to somebody that I've met in film festivals that does only Star Wars fan films. So we're gonna do a sort of frequently asked questions 101 with him. I'll interview him and he'll help us to learn how, you wanna be smart going about these things. And then I've been collaborating with a maker in Malaysia, and I'm getting a full set of armor, and that's actually on the way to me now. But the bounty pucks, right? So what have we done so far? We've done the disruptor rifle, we've done the blaster, we've done the vibroblade, we did the tracking fobs, and now the bounty pucks. It's inevitable. And, I'm a completionist, so I can't stop. It's like, I think there's probably 2 more things I need to make. So these, what was fun about these? So very basic. I'll link, like I always do, to the file. And I actually ended up doing a little bit of a hybrid on this. So what I found is a few different ones, but this one I like because it screws off, right? So that screws off. And then inside here, this plastic that I actually got from like a pencil box, right? And I just bought that at the dollar store because it was sort of the right texture. So that's cool. That's not a 3D element. And then what was really cool was the lights in the base. So what this is this one came with the hollowed out base to put a light in. Now this light is another 3D file, which I'll link to, but this is like a DIY light for doing like a tea candle, right? An LED tea candle. But it was like, with very slight modification, it's like, boop. It's like made for that, right? I just needed like just a little tease of sort of a source light, right? And then it looks pretty pinned on here, but I think it's because my light's so bright. Let me turn my light down. See if that does anything. Yeah, right? Pretty cool. Okay, so straightforward but fun. Like I said, lots of Mandalorian, but this is all culminating into something cool, and the stuff is just so much fun. And I keep saying I just love sort of getting my hands on this design, and it's going to inform my stuff in the future. So enough vamping. Let's get into the build. All right, the printing cooking show. We're printing, we're slicing, we're getting our pieces ready, and then we're going to get basically into model making, right? But first, I want to kick it off with, we're going to build these lights. Like I said, this is supposed to be like a tea light. There's the file right there, and it was like, oh, I wonder if this will fit in my thing. And it did. And it's always exciting when that happens. It feels like a gift. So first I'm going to assemble this tea light. So it's a little bit of electronics. Now what I like about doing the LED lights is that, yeah, it's simple. It's a little tough, but this is not soldering, right? This is all mechanical connections. And like these lights, I think, I went on Amazon. It was like not more than $7 for all those lights. I mean, that's probably going to last me a couple of years. And then these coin batteries, these are like 3 volts. And I think that whole pack cost me like $6, $7. And there, right, at its core, that's really all it is. You connect a positive with a negative, and there you go. And I think eventually I'll get more involved and solder things together with switches and different colors and stuff. But this is how you start anything, right? Just like one step at a time. I'm doing a basic light thing here, and what'll happen is, I'll do basic things like this, and then at a certain point, you'll think, okay, I want more. And then the door is opened and you'll try more difficult things. And right now I'm not speaking from experience because I've never done that, but I have experience in other things, and I know that's how it'll work, right? So eventually I will try more daring LED configurations, but you got to start somewhere, right? And just this light was just too perfect, right? It's like a mechanical connection, no soldering. It was just the right size to fill that hole to give my prop a little bit of light. And, you know, it's a film prop, so I don't need it to be a perfect light. I just need like a little bit of a source just to sort of to kick things off, right? To give it like a practical sense of like what is motivating this blue light. Because what I'll probably do in the film is, you know, there'll be some visual effects. But there you see, it just fits perfectly in there like a hand in a glove, right? And again, I didn't have to really massage anything. So that's always a good sign where when things are working out, it's like, okay. And then here I'm just sort of test fitting everything before I dive in and sort of to make the final thing. And what I learned there is, what's cool with LED lights, I learned this from Bill Duran at Punished Props, is you can sand them down. Just got to be careful not to break or disturb where they connect and create the light. But all that plastic there, you know, you can sand that right down. So here what I'm doing is I'm taking some aluminum tape, got my leather tool there to cut holes. And what I'm going to do is just to help this to diffuse and fill up the hole that's we're trying to light up, illuminate, is I'm just going to put this aluminum tape on there, real low-tech solution that works really well. So here I'm just fitting this on, and boy, the aluminum tape, boy, that stuff is really good, right? It sticks well, it fits to anything almost, and this is a really reflective surface. And it's hard to tell on video, but if you're in the room, the difference between the way this lights up with and without that it's a pretty big difference, to be honest with you. Again, you know, because video sort of reads light differently, it's hard to tell, but yeah, so that's good. So now we're moving on to more of the 3D stuff. So on these prints, I have these lines at the bottom, and for these straightforward lines like this, I found that I don't need Bondo. I can just use this plastic wood putty, which was recommended in the comments. So yeah, keep those comments coming. It's helpful. And here what I'm doing is I'm just pressing in. I found that if I use my finger, I can get a more finer tuned in sort of coverage. And you know, I just use some disposable rubber gloves, get that in there really good. Here, because it's a perfectly flat surface, I just do one pass with the squeegee. And yeah, that's good. And what I like about this filler is as it dries, it turns a different color. So I put it under the fan because it's air drying, right? High tech there, right? And then now, because it's a different color, I know it's dry, which is nice. Where with the Bondo, sometimes it's tacky, or you know, you're not sure if it's time to get in there yet. And like here, I know, yeah, we can get in there. So now I'm just going through the grits. I'm doing like, I typically do 220 and then finish off with a 500. The sanding blocks, they didn't say what they were. They say fine. It's probably like a 150, 180. And then there you see, like, so all the low spots are filled and the high spots are not. So that's actually exactly what you want. So here I'm doing some test fitting, always test fitting, making sure. Now here, I did this off camera, but this is where I merged the two models, right? So the top part, the gear looking part, is from one of the models, and the rest of it is from the other, because I wanted that open spot where I can put my diffusion in there. And the one model didn't have that. But, you know, this is a pretty simple model, so that wasn't too difficult to do. Actually, what happened is I still had my camera recording time-lapse from the print, so I didn't film that. But basically what I did is I cut the top off the other model, and I'm merging those two models together. Here, dust everywhere. It's hot out. Dust is sticking to me, so you just want to vacuum that. And here I'm just using the vacuum to get out the little bits of dust. I do this quite a bit. Like I said, this is a poor man's, you know, shop air. I hope one day to have air in my shop, and then that way I can do sort of all this like pss, pss. When you see the people with big shops, you can just blast it all through there, right? All right, so now I'm going to prep for painting. And with little parts, you really want to do yourself a favor and just tape everything down. It just really helps. And what I found is, a step I always do now is prep for painting to me used to be sanding and then painting. Now it's sanding and then prepping sort of the station, however I'm going to configure the pieces to paint them, right? And two things happen with that. I get a better paint job, and it just saves time in the big picture, right? So here I'm going to hit it with a primer. I got those taped down. And then also the side that's taped down, I want to leave unpainted because that's where I'm going to glue things together. Again, got the fans out, just air drying things seems to be my thing now. And here I just hit it with the black. I got that matte black that I love. It's like, it's matte black, but it's meant for rims. So it goes on really thick, and it's just really nice paint. Now I'm just going to do a little dry brush. We're not going to do graphite on these because they're, you know, in the film, in the screenshots or the TV show, they look more black. So this is just going to give them a little bit of life. So I'm just doing a little dry brush, just kissing the edges and just testing that out. And that looks really good. And it's really handy having it on this palette here like this. And then now I'm just going to hit that with clear because, again, as we put on our layers, we want to build on top. We don't want to build it, mix it all together. So here I just have a pencil box. Now I print sort of a negative of the disc because I wanted to use it as a template. If I was smart, I probably could just use a compass or something, but you know, I did this, took 2 minutes to print. And what I'm doing now is I'm just sharpening up a jeweler's screwdriver because I couldn't find my awl. And I'm just scoring the circle, right? Because it's plastic, it's brittle, it's not soft, but it has the right texture that I like, and I'm just scoring that. And now I'm just going through it with the X-Acto knife and being careful that it doesn't shatter, right? So that's why I'm not like using a hole saw or drilling this, just because this, you know, you're seeing the one that works, but I did a test off camera and yeah, it shattered apart. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking the time to just do some score lines so that it'll break off in pieces, right? That the whole thing won't just crack in half. And, you know, all the time when something's a problem or troubling, the best way is always just sneak up on it, right? Just sort of trick it. Because it's always square peg and a round hole, so we're just tricking these things into working. I mean, it's a dollar store pencil box, right? And we're going to make a bounty hunter puck. So there's a little massaging. And what I'm doing here is I'm just sanding, even though it has that sort of muted matte look that I like, that I wanted from the plastic, I'm making it even more defined by scuffing that up. And that looks good. Now, because I know I kind of want a blue hue, I'm thinking I'm just going to help myself out a little. And I didn't have any gel on hand, and typically I would just go to like a film store and get the gel. Because everything's closed down with COVID, I just went to the dollar store and I found these like school folders, right? This is for like putting in your backpack with your homework or whatever. And I just cut these, and these work perfect as gel. So I just got a spray on adhesive there, and I'm just going to spray like a circle of this to the back just to give it, you know, it doesn't read blue, which is what I want. I still want it to be like this off-white. But now when it lights up, it's just going to help it with more of a diffused blue look, right? So that's all going in there good. And yeah, and it was worth it to make that little template because now that fits in there perfectly. So now with the super glue, I just put a dab on every one of those teeth. That was a little nerve-wracking. And yeah, now it's getting to that moment where you're like, ooh, yeah, this is something. So now I'm demasking, and like I said, what was nice about this piece is a lot of the pieces I wanted to keep not painted, right? So here, like I said off camera, I sliced the top of one of the models and I'm gluing it to the bottom of another model, right? You could just use one or the other. For my purposes, like I said, I did a hybrid of the two. Now I'm super gluing on that. And yeah, that looks good. That looks really good, actually. So a little puck, right? So it's the Bounty Puck. And you know, you're always looking at it thinking, what'd I do wrong? So here, because I glued the top to the bottom, there's just like a little bit of a gap of like where it looks like it's glued, like not painted. So here I'm just taking some flat black and I'm just going over that seam. And I'm just using this black acrylic because this will dry really quick. And, you know, I'm going to probably wipe off most of it. I just want to cover, you know, where we glued the two things together. And then now I'm just going to take just a little bit of the silver and just do a little dry brush over where we just glued. And that's the thing about like weathering and the layer paint treatments that we always do on these props. It really is just sort of like sculpting, I guess, in a way, right? Where it's like you add a little, you take away a little, you're always looking, you're always maneuvering, right? It's not paint by numbers. It's not like a model kit, like boom, boom, boom. We're like massaging these things, right? And it's like, oh, a little, or cooking, right? A little more salt, a little less salt, you know, spice, or, you know, Bailey's, whatever. So here now I'm just doing a black wash, and I like to do the black wash because that helps to blend all that dry brushing in so it doesn't make it so pronounced. And the black wash, what I do is I just sludge wash it over the whole thing, wipe it off with a paper towel, and then the brown is it's a burnt umber. And what I typically do with the brown is just do dabs, right? Little dab, dab, dab. And I'm just really looking to break up the piece, right? Something about, like, even if just a pinhead of that brown gets on there, it really adds something, and it really, really does. So we're going to hit that with clear, because before we go in the powders, again, I don't want to muddy everything up. I want to layer it, right? So now I just do the powders. This last gives it that dusty look. And for me, my Mandalorian, you know, when I finally do the film, he's definitely going to be like out in the desert, like a Western. So I'm really going heavy with the powders on my Mandalorian builds, because it's going to be like outdoor in a desert. And again, because I'm not making this to be film accurate on my shelf to display, it's to be actually used in a film. So this dusty look that I'm able to achieve with the powders really, really brings it all together. And then even on the day, I'm probably going to slather everything with some Fuller's Earth, you know. So, you know, basically I'm just giving myself a head start here. And, you know, personal preference. What do you like? I've done all these things. I like the powders. And then here's my little personal touches. Like, I get the blue. And the blue, I don't know why, I have no motivation for the blue. I think it's more, like I said, like a sculpting, a cooking thing. It's just like a little touch of blue. And to me, it just sort of, you know, like if you look at somebody's face and you really want to paint a skin, you know, there's blues and greens in there and you don't realize that. Same thing with just adding like little subtle color touches. Yeah, and there it is all together. Looking cool. Bounty Puck. And, you know, that light diffusion works out really well having that blue in there. And here's the beauty shots. And, you know, I don't know, when something's this size, it's always good to make two, right? That looks good. And you'll never see it this close up. It's always just going to be like on a table. There, because I went really high exposure to show these off on the white, you know, the light will be more diffused when it's actually on film. But very happy with those. Very cool. Yeah. So happy with these, right? And it's, you know, it's so simple, right? And I think, you know, if you're familiar with my work in Erringer, my character has this device that she walks around with, and I made that out of like a tin, like a spice candy tin, very similar to this. So I think if I wasn't 3D printing, I would have probably made this out of like a little tin. But because I am 3D printing, to the excitement of some of you, to the annoyance of a few, it's just, you know, this is just what I'm doing now. So more Mandalorian. We're going to be starting to get hardcore into the armor pretty soon. I think the only thing I have left, I think, is the those charges that he, like, you know, pop. Those, like, I think they're grav charges, they're called, like 3 of those, and then it goes on the belt, and then I'll do a little work on the belt, but I can't stop talking Mandalorian. It's exciting. And basically, just to put it into context, this is like my lockdown project, right? I think everybody at this point is locked down, got to have a project. Mine is doing the Mandalorian. All right, so stay tuned for more cool Mandalorian stuff and some interviews. Well, as always, I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Love to read the comments. Be sure to check out the merch shop. This week, Punish Prop, Bill Duran, get a lot of help from that channel over there. He does a lot of excellent work. And I think he just released the 3rd Foamsmith book in his series. So you should check that out. Well, remember, I'm just here to help make sci-fi.